Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, your cosmic GPS for life, love, and everything written in the stars. We're Tali and Ophira Edut, the AstroTwins, here to decode the astrology of the moment and help you navigate your destiny like a pro. Well, hey, everybody. It is the week of March 23rd to 29th. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio. The equinox has arrived and it's finally spring here. Tali in Seattle. How's it going there, Ophi in New York?
Well, we had some spring weather finally. I don't know how long it's going to stay, but I felt it. I celebrated the equinox with some other astrologers, let's have a couple astrologers drop over. Turned into a fun little dance party, not under the stars, but I had a moment of just celebrating that we are a month out of eclipse season and
That was
all the
rough.
changes. It was a lot. It was quite an entry into 2026 in the year of the fire horse.
I mean, not like it's
We
really gotten any better, but
No, no, not at
March
all.
madness is real in a lot of ways, and that cognitive dissonance that we're all feeling here.
It's just the small wins have to be celebrated just to keep us, emotionally regulated on this planet, I guess. But we're in a full-on war as Saturn, Neptune, and Aries has. So, I mean, this is life in 2026, the year of the unbridled spirit. We knew it would be a lot. And
Well, it's
yeah,
sending us down a rabbit hole of prophecies. So we're saying, what is this podcast about? Well, planets, politics, pop culture, and prophecies. I mean, when moments like these occur in the world where everything seems impossible to explain, and, even the astrology takes it as far as it does, but we start as astrologers to kind of look at bigger cycles. We start to look at repeating patterns. We start to look at other periods in history that may be similar and see what planets may have been in the same places. So we're going to talk about some of those discoveries that we've been diving into, or, not like they're discoveries. Maybe many of you have heard of them, but we love to share our process and our unfolding and geek out with you guys here. But I have to say, though, the minute Friday got here last week and Aries season began and the equinox came and Mercury shifted out of retrograde,
ew,
I did feel like a surge of energy that was, and a positive one.
yeah. A
Was
lot
like,
of people did. I mean, people were being, I don't know why, it's probably all of those things, but yeah, people were being nice. I was parking my car on the street in New York City, and then me and another guy moved our cars to make room for a third guy. And then, one of them revealed that he had just opened up a coffee shop a couple blocks away and invited us. And it was like suddenly we were Norm and Sandy or whatever their names were from Cheers going to, you know, the
I
the
don't
the
think that was their
cafe.
names. Was it Sandy? I don't know. Yeah.
Sandy, no, totally wrong. Norm and oh my God, yeah,
Shelley Long and Ted
Shelley
Danson.
Long,
Yeah.
yeah, Norm,
We'll call them by their government names.
yeah. I'm like
And
totally mixing it up with Grease. This
I
goes to
know,
show
I was
how
thinking
long it's been since the 70s and
Sandy. Why?
80s.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, here we are in Aries season, and well, it's definitely delivering a barrage of intensity already, as well as forward moving young energy. And we're getting a lot of Aries over the next month. Like the new moon coming next month is I think, what are there, seven
Seven, yeah.
placements in Aries that day.
Yep. And all in all, I think nine will be going through Aries throughout
So people
April.
asking, when is this war gonna end? I mean, it's like, Do we have to wait for that Scorpio full moon in
Well,
April?
last
And
week
maybe
we talked about how the zodiac sign that rules Israel, Iran, and the United States, that would be Taurus, Aries, and Cancer. Well, they all have a major outer planet transiting through there. So we've got Saturn and Neptune and Aries in the Islamic Republic of Iran. We've got Uranus and Taurus for Israel. We've got Jupiter and Cancer for the United States. So that's been going on. That's
and
all in all a period from January 26th to April 25th that they all three will have that. So I'm looking at maybe May being when we see some changes. I mean,
well, it does, the way we figure that out, just so people understand, is that every, the birth countries have birthdays when they're formed, when they have their charter. And we look at that as actually the birth chart of the nation. So for us here in the United States, July 4th, 1776, which is what makes the United States a Cancer, and actually is its whole a whole chart, just like the rest of us do. And Israel was formed during Taurus season, making it a Taurus, and Iran and Aries in 1979. So that's what we're
mhm.
looking at there. Now, Aries season, we also like to call it, we're kind of starting a new thing. We're calling it Mars season because the ruler of Aries is Mars, and that's the planet of, you hear it called the planet of war all the time. It has many other purposes. It's passion, it's lust, it's leadership. And so we are starting something new. And this is an invitation to you to join us this Monday, March 23rd. Short notice, but you know what? Aries season is spontaneous. Um, and we are going to be doing a manifestation ritual, manifesting with Mars. And this is something we're going to try for a few months and maybe ongoingly, doing a monthly manifestation ritual free, just to gather community together at this time in the world. We need to be around other conscious people, other people who want to put another story into the collective
Put some
consciousness.
positive intentions out. Yeah.
So, what we're going
Hmm.
to do is, so we invite you to come, bring a notebook. We're going to walk you through a little ritual to set up your next 30 days and also understand how to work with Mars, where it was in your birth chart. What sign was it in? What house was it in? How can you use that in this moment? I mean, this week we have the No Kings rallies happening on Saturday, March 28th. So no time like that to tap into that Mars energy and vocalize how you feel about the fact that our world has basically been taken over by a few autocrats who are hell bent on destroying it, destroying relationships that took decades to build. Talk about this a little bit later because on Saturday, jumping ahead to Saturday, and we'll back it up in a minute, but the day of the No Kings rallies, there is a transit happening. We have Saturn, the planet of authority, in Aries, which can also be your inner authority or personal authority to lead, or the heavy handed authoritarian uh, dictators, wannabe kings out there. And Saturn's going to be forming a sextile, which is this very friendly, flowing angle, two signs apart, with Pluto, a transformational, metamorphic Pluto in Aquarius, which is this power to the people energy. So we have this is a big theme in the second half of this year, and it's actually starting now already. This like individuality versus the collective, individual guidance and inner authority, um, versus groupthink, how much collective is healthy, how much is we're all in a cult here based on someone in the manosphere or our political
No, that's
affiliations. you
That's
know?
one that really came out with Aries season and Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. We'll talk about that. The Netflix Manosphere
Oh my
documentary
God, it
that
was, did you
everybody's
see it
talking about.
too?
It's
Oh my
so
God, I
Aries.
watched it. Yeah.
You watch it. I haven't yet.
I didn't
As
miss
time more.
anything. It's like these three douchey guys, who all of them have one-way polyamorous relationships where they can be with as many women as they want, but their wives or partners aren't allowed, can only be there for them. And these women are like, but I get to see his sensitive side, or just spewing like, oh, I feel so happy. I get to be a stay-at-home wife. And
I mean, wasn't Sister Wives already that, except consensually in a way? No, but
no, I mean, it wasn't even like that because it's not even like Sister Wives felt very like evolved compared to this. It's like the guys are out, oh, I packed you some condoms, boo, kind of thing. And
really, oh my gosh. I know. I almost like I would, it's like I didn't really want to watch the Oscars. I want to watch this, but I didn't. It's like for
you're
some
not really
reason,
missing anything. It's like I thought it might be like, I mean, these guys, I don't even, they're just tools. I mean, they're not that different than the way guys acted when we were in our early 20s. Honestly, it's like, and I'm
I
not,
know it
but they
really
just have
isn't.
a platform and a mic and reach, and that's where it gets problematic. One of the guys, HS, is like, download my, crypto,
Of course.
he's
Of
got his,
course he
and
has
of
a
course,
coin.
he has a coin. He's enriching himself. It's a shit coin, and
I mean, it's basically the manosphere is basically an MLM. It's like, but with a pipeline, the scary part to me is like how it grooms young boys who are online to sort of buy into this toxic masculinity uh paradigm if they're susceptible to it. And then the whole like crypto and disrespecting women or devaluing them entirely. I'm the person who's like watching the commentary about all these things that I haven't seen yet, but the commentary that I'm seeing, which is so Pluto and Aquarius too, like listen to what others say and really know the subtext of the thing that you haven't watched yet. But I think what people are really saying that I'm hearing is how, yeah, just it's these men are like performing for each other. They're not even trying to
totally.
impress women anymore. They're trying to impress each other. Again, I don't know if that's so different than it's like
And
it always
women,
felt
we
like that.
dress and put on, we dress for each other. We compete with each other too in a funny way. But it's just, I think the difference is that they have a
Power.
platform now, and that it's reaching into younger men's, bedrooms and AirPods, and and it's shaping this anger and hate and blaming, and also this is why we say the patriarchy, toxic masculinity, it hurts everyone. Like, guys can't live up to that. Like, I mean, there's, okay, mate. It was weird because they showed one of the guys, he was down in Miami, and these guys were probably kind of disenfranchised and geeky, were like, or just like maybe not in shape. We're like, thank you so much, man. You gave me, like, he got them working out and taking, it's all these things
It's
like,
what cult leaders do. They create a trauma bond by insulting you, but then love bomb you with
true,
supplements and workouts and wellness. I'm going to get you laid. I'm going to get you this and that.
gonna be
So,
jacked. I mean,
yeah,
there are,
shredded.
yeah, then there are men who are embracing this new thought, like Jalen. There's a clip circulating of one of the Boston Celtics players, Jalen Brown, who it's really adorable. He's just sitting there like talking about like how he this teammate is born in the year of the dog. I actually
He talks about how
remixed
he
it and
uses
posted.
astrology. Yeah, he
I
uses
posted on our
astrology.
Instagram.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
So,
Okay,
yeah.
good, good. Yeah, he uses astrology, numerology, and Chinese astrology to help his teammates win and kind of make their strategy and their playbook or whatever they do.
I had to
Yeah,
look him up. He's a Scorpio with an Aries moon.
he's October 24th, 1996. So he's a rat like us. And we know that
Mm.
rats love to figure out the patterns, code in and everything. But I just love when someone who, uh, is in those those traditional masculinity kind of mainstream or corporate roles, just unapologetically embraces and talks about it. And then, other that this is maybe the antidote to the manosphere, having
And on
him
the
go out and
opposite end
talk.
of it, then you have Libra Barry Keoghan, who now there's also news circulating about him. He was Sabrina Carpenter's ex, and he's an Irish actor. He has been saying, he was on a podcast saying that he's like kind of hiding out from the public because people on social media were really mean about his looks. And, like I'm just thinking about, how that level of like internalized self-hatred that women have been barraged with, from makeup to magazines to, ultra skinny models. Now that's really seeped in for men too.
Yeah,
And
they're calling
men
it
have to
looks maxing, where they
look
like,
smacks and cub.
there's these guys that just like try to perfect their looks in this sort of influencer
Well, women have
male
been
model
looks
kind of way.
maxing and for the longest. I can't remember when we
Yeah,
weren't expected to. But I'm also thinking like,
so
God,
Aries, so
guys
Neptune
really
and
need to
Aries.
build some inner, like now they're having to go through what we went through, where they have to build that inner resilience. I mean, it's like I never felt like I had like mainstream beauty, especially not growing up in the 80s, when I mean 80s, you were given like white button nosed, waspy, huge gap between the thighs kind of models, like just
And
super
no diversity
skinny.
outside of that.
No, and so it was like either I hate myself or I start getting plastic surgery. I remember when we got our braces taken off, the orthodontist pulled our mother aside. I think we were like 15 and was like, now that the girls have their teeth perfect, you want to refer her to a plastic surgeon to do lip reduction and no rhinoplasty. I was like, I think that birthed my fuck you. I'm like, no way. I'm going to keep, as Bella Hadid said, the nose of my ancestors. And thank God, like, I mean, thin lips were in then, but like, yeah, there's no lip filler here. Okay. It's just like,
Right.
but it's like
We've gone
ridiculous.
Kylie Jenner's before route. Well, it is, except that now in this visual culture, and this is a result of all the screens, um, everything is so filtered and airbrushed and AI'd. So it's this new thing. I've in my continuing prophecy rabbit hole, I was listening to an Edgar Cayce prophecy about 2026, actually. And he saw people looking at glowing boxes and finding, and that people would be confused by getting these really extreme, mixed, and contradicting messages, and that humanity would lose its way. I mean, between the Hopi prophecies, Nostradamus, and Edgar Cayce,
Yeah, we
all
should
of
tell
which I've been
people who
binging on.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Edgar Cayce is.
Edgar Cayce was a man in, I think he was a salesman, can't photography salesman or something. It's a Pisces, so
It's a
that would
Pisces, so
track.
probably
Yeah, he lost his voice suddenly. It's in the 1920s or 30s. You'll have to fact check that one. But he lost his voice suddenly, and then along the way suggested he get hypnotized. And under hypnosis, his voice came back and he was cured. And this was after like trying everything. So, um, while hypnotized, I think he began remembering things. And, the Akashic records are basically a name for the idea that every soul has been reincarnated multiple times, comes back, chooses the time that they're born. We all have collectively chosen, according to his prophecies in the Akashic records, to be born at this time with an assignment. Will we use it for good or will we use it to do more harm on the planet? That's where our human consciousness and free will comes in. But
Well,
as
speaking
we,
of that, let me
yeah.
just wrap up what we were saying a while ago. So that's why we're also probably moving towards these manifestation rituals. No, there's no time like the present. It's like we need to collectively focus on a different kind of future than the one that's being served up by the powers that be right now. So our Mars manifestation ritual, and then next month we'll have a Venus one because Venus is the ruler of Taurus season. So we're going to start with Mars. That's this Monday, March 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be on Crowdcast, which we use. So there's a link down in the show notes, or you can go to astrostyle.com/events and find it there as well. You just have to drop your email in. It'll send you the link. Totally free. Bring a notebook with you. And if you want to use our Mars calculator already to look up the sign and house that your Mars is in, we'll also drop that into the show notes for you. We'll give you a chance to also do that while you're on. But, we know some of you like to come prepared and ready. And we're going to start building the year so that it's not just happening to us, but we're also visioning it. And, this week is a powerful week because Wednesday, we have the annual Saturn Cazimi, the Sun Saturn conjunction. Actually, while we're recording this Sunday, we're in the Neptune Cazimi, which is the Sun and Neptune at the same degree. So Cazimi is it's an Arabic phrase that means in the heart of the sun. So when a planet moves in the zodiac to the same degree as the sun, which happens once a year for Neptune, once a year for Saturn. Um, the sun just really bathes that planet in its light and powers it up. So it was a really dreamy Sunday. We both did a lot of reading about
Hmm.
prophecies, but Saturn is the authoritarian. Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is challenges, time.
We call it the
So
day of challenges because so basically the sun is your life force energy and Saturn is a bit suppressive. So it's almost like a cloud passing over your inner sun. But it doesn't have to be bad. What you might want to look at it as like, all right, if you've been overly optimistic or to the point of being unrealistic, or then it's a reality check. If you've been arrogant in any way or kind of maybe just not as kind as you could have been. You'll get a little humbled by it. So it's really a
where do you want to
moment to,
put some structures in place
yeah, yeah,
too?
it's a moment to put in like maybe you have a big idea, it's bright and shiny like the sun, but you don't have structure for it. So it's or you haven't followed through. It's kind of an accountability integrity day. So I mean, we have Capricorn rising, which makes Saturn the ruler of our chart because it's the ruler of Capricorn. So I like a little Saturn effect because I feel like, you know, you make a few sacrifices, but then it makes you stronger and builds character. Not everybody loves that. And I talk to me on Thursday. Let's see how much I like it either. But
Sun and Aries, I think of like that swagger, that ego, but Saturn and Aries can kind of tamp it down.
well,
So, and
let's
we
hope
also have a
so.
quarter moon in Gemini. So, quarter moons are sort of modulating. So, could there be I mean, there's a chance that there could be some kind of negotiations that get reached, although I don't really have much hope for that. I just saw, news today is that border czar, what a joke of a
God.
title, Tom Homan, the guy who was caught running out of some like TGI Fridays type restaurant with a bag of cash,
Oh,
literally.
yeah.
He has now decided that ICE will be helping out TSA at airports. So we've had Mercury retrograde in Pisces left us with this legacy of, the government shut down. The Democrats don't want to give Kristi Noem's successor, Mark Wayne Mullins, like a
Ugh.
blank check. So there's a partial shutdown. It's I here in Seattle, there's literally, I read an Axios article that's um there's a food bank for TSA workers. They're taking donations
Yeah.
of food. Like,
Because they're going on another cycle without a paycheck. So some of them can't even afford to eat. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that people in our country are having food insecurity when billions of dollars are going to
Buy
Israel
warehouses
or to,
and,
also, to just,
for
it's just,
prisons, all of those
it's
things. Yeah.
just, there's nothing about this that isn't just wrong. And I do fear that this day of challenges will also cause some, more war threats and weird alliances with that quarter moon. I just saw that Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, and his son were rallying for autocrat Viktor Orban of Hungary, who's been a known anti-Semite and far, far right. And then Germany's far right party was also involved in this. I'm like, what?
Aren't they on the
Like
board of peace? I think
when
all
the
the
Yamin Netanyahu does not represent us, it's abhorrent that he somehow is the spokesperson that people see for Jewish culture. He is absolutely, the devastation that he's done in Lebanon now, the deaths along with
Iran.
Gaza, Iran, what he sucked people into. This is
And
not,
now people in Israel are being bombed by Iran in retaliation
yeah.
too. There are so many people in Israel that are not being heard as well, who don't want this. If you
And
are
he,
interested
yeah,
in hearing those voices, we always recommend haaretz.com as an Israeli news source that is absolutely not on the side of Netanyahu. Just even if you're Jewish and you're like, where are the people that are and you're listening to this and you're like, where are the people that represent the values of Judaism that I grew up with or know, which is not war and hate. And
right.
so anyway, I think that's the best news source I find for it. And they have Arab and Palestinian writers as well contributing. So, but since, a couple weeks ago, we had our special on this planet episode with Netta, of my friend Netta, who is Iranian American. And since then, I've also noticed that there seems to be a memo that we're all getting where I've been seeing more Jewish and Arab or just Middle Eastern cross-cultural alliances and voices speaking up and saying, hey, as representatives of the people in general, our shared humanity is definitely important. I mean, even at this little impromptu spring equinox gathering I had one of the people who came brought a friend of hers, and we like really hit it off, and he and I were chatting. We had this real like kind of warm, friendly connection. And at the end, after we had all danced and everything, it was like I said, "Oh, are you Egyptian or Middle Eastern?" He's like, "I'm Palestinian." I was like, "Okay, well, awesome. I'm so glad you're here." Our dad is from Israel, and we were both immediately like, "Oh, we hate what's going on there," and like gave me a hug, and it was just like, it was just, I was like, we were both like, he grew up in Florida. We're both like, this is what we know.
Also
So
did.
before 1917, which was the year that Nostradamus predicted strife, he said when Saturn is in Cancer and Jupiter is with Mars. So there were key dates in 1916, 15, 16, and 17 that fit with that. And that is when the Middle East was carved up. In 1916, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, a British diplomat and a French diplomat and a Russian representative had a secret meeting, drew up plans to divide up the whole Middle East, promised it to different groups, and they ceded infighting. And our grandfather didn't want to live in Palestine when his family left Germany because he already noticed that he did not like the way the British were trying to create these artificial conflicts and divisions between the Jews and Arabs. So they all lived all over the Middle East, coexisted, just like we did in Detroit in the Midwest, and just like people do until, you know, brainwashed extremist groups come in, and that's in every religion, it's often faith-based, or
Well, and
supposedly, yeah.
his sister, who is no longer alive, lived in a house in Jerusalem that a Palestinian Arab family had been kicked out of. And they
Oh
never,
man.
I was like, well, they never bought the house because they thought that one day the family might come back. But, I'm just talking about Jewish guilt, but also like, are you really going to give them that? I mean, the house is standing empty now, or I think, no, it got turned into an Airbnb. Like, this is like
Oh my God.
craziness of like, I just, oh God. I feel like this set me back to read because Pluto is in the picture. Pluto's in the picture with Saturn this week when they formed that sextile on Saturday. And I was like, and it just started reading about Isis, the goddess, and kind of,
Well,
the
maybe
Middle
this
East
is
is calling.
yeah.
I wanted to read back in our 2023 horoscope book, the year of
And
what
before you
if.
do, this
Yeah.
might set it up. The This Edgar Cayce
Oh,
prophecy from
yeah. Mm-hmm.
1941, and that's significant because 1941
Mm.
is when Uranus left Taurus and went into Gemini, and we are at that exact same point again. The final days of, final weeks of Uranus in Taurus before it goes to Gemini for the first time since 1941. So, um, in 1941, he went into a trance. So he would do these readings and channelings under trance. And he said, I see a man with hair like the gold of the sun. And he's talking about the mid 2020s now. He will come when a great nation is torn apart from within. He will not be a king in the old sense, yet he will carry the
Oh,
influence of
wow.
one. Around him will swirl a storm that reflects the unrest of millions. And he said, this man will not come as a savior, nor will he come as a destroyer. He will come as a mirror. What the people
Mm.
see in him will reveal what lies within their own hearts. And then he goes on to describe a period of intense polarization where the mere mention of this man would spark heated arguments that divided families, communities, and entire nations. And that the way people felt about him would say more about those people than the man himself. And he spoke about a breaking
Wow.
point that arrived in the middle of the 2020s when and this is from a video that I saw about Edgar Cayce that we can include in the show notes. He saw tensions
definitely.
surrounding this figure and the broader global situation that would reach a moment of transformation, a crossroads where humanity would face a deeper choice about the direction of its future. So, I don't usually go down too far these rabbit holes. I've always been drawn to Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus, but I've never really done any real studying of their prophecies about the world at large. But you know, if you're listening to this, you too are probably feeling like, at this point, why not? What's better than that at this point? It's sometimes it's the only thing that makes sense of it to me.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things as you were reading that, I was like thinking about the last time Uranus was in Gemini was actually when, the atomic bomb was dropped, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was in 1945, August of
Pearl
1945.
Harbor.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but the Saturn was in Cancer that year too. And you'd mentioned Nostradamus had some prophecy about Saturn and Cancer that also was like
Oh yeah.
earlier in the century, last century. So
Yeah, he has a whole thing where he's like Saturn with Cancer, Jupiter with Mars. I'm gonna look at that again.
Saturn will be in
Um,
Cancer, I think, in 2032. Let's see. I think it's 20, yeah, about 2032. Um, Let me
yeah, there
see.
seems to be a lot going toward 2030, and I'm like, well, we're living in 2026 right now, so how far in the future are we supposed to go? I actually remember feel
2033, end of
Yeah, I
2032. Yeah.
remember
Mhm.
feeling disoriented this way when Neptune went into Pisces in 2011 and 2012. Like it was the same feeling. I remember also when Neptune went into Pisces, and then when Uranus went into Aries, 2011, 2012. I remember, and that was like also the Mayan prophecies then. It was like the world might be ending. No, it's the end of the world as we know it. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but 2012 was supposed to be the end of the Mayan calendar. So people were wondering, is the world going through a big shift? And it did. But I remember feeling the same sort of not quite knowing what we're going into, but the same feeling of like stuff's about to be different. And then
To
YouTube was born, and then shortly after the swiping iPad and changing the way we interacted with technology. I mean, people had cell phones and smartphones and
but
iPhones a
the
bit, but they weren't.
speed was like
Yeah, the iPad and the swipe technology, and then the cameras and everything started to really change then. Because I know as a tech geek, I got an iPad right away, the first generation. I was like,
we
oh,
didn't have
wow,
streaming like in our like I remember someone, I think I don't know what it was. I was at some conference and someone was like, "You're going to be able to watch TV on your phone." And I was like, "What? Really?" And here we are,
that'd be
it's
cool. Yeah. Hmm.
I mean
And
it,
it
and
and
it happened
it's
fast. And here we are now with Pluto and Aquarius, and we're
all the AI.
civilization is changing, and we actually wrote about that in the 2023 book, like when we did our theme. I don't know, I'll read a little bit of it because I thought this was
Yeah.
kind of interesting, especially so this year, if you're watching us on YouTube, the we had Isis with a reflecting pool and a peacock, and that was our cover. It was the year of the rabbits. We had a little bunny too, but we called it the year of what if. And we wrote this before AI dropped, right? Chat GPT's first introduction came at the beginning of Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto moved into Aquarius March 23rd until I think it was June 10th that year, or
Hmm.
June 11th. So,
Yeah.
um, but before we even knew what was happening, it was like we wrote a mystical thing happens while we're planning the cover art for our annual guides. As we sense our way into the year's cosmic lineup, imagery arrives before we have concrete understanding of its relevance. True for this year, too. The year of the unbridled spirit and the horse.
Hmm. Yeah,
The
you
mo-
wrote this in 2022
I
because
wrote,
we always,
yeah,
yeah,
we
publish
write these a
in the
year.
fall.
Yeah. So when Egypt was floated as a 2023 theme, we accepted that there must be a reason why, and thus we began our astrological dig. Inquiry led us to a pivotal time in history, approximately 1177 BCE, when a systems wide civilization crash occurred, known as the Bronze Age collapse. And it wiped out one of the earliest global trade networks in history that included as one of its superpowers, you guessed it, Egypt. Also, we've been looking at the astrological ages. This was right between the age of Aries and the age of Pisces when there was a shift. The
Mm,
astrological ages,
they go
we got
backwards.
yeah, they go backwards. They're about 2000 years and it's there with the precession of the equinox as the earth tilts a little bit and after a certain amount of time at the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox you'll see a different constellation on the horizon. So that's why we're moving into the age of Aquarius now, because we're starting to see the constellation of Aquarius the um on the horizon. It's not the sign, not the degrees of Aquarius that we use in tropical Western, but the constellation of Aquarius that was there when we started doing astrology during the age of Aries, because Aries was a constellation that was rising on the ecliptic at the equinox, the vernal equinox. So it's shifted. Now it's Aquarius. So the year might be better started with Aquarius season. I don't know. Anyways,
Mm,
the ages,
it is in
the age of
Chinese,
Aries was a
Eastern.
time when we developed weapons, metals, wars started to happen, conquering. And then it moved into the age of Pisces, where the church and religion and Christ consciousness came. And we've been in that since. And now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. So, anyways, I digress. Back to reading. So inquiry led us to a pivotal time in history, approximately 1177 BCE, when a systems-wide civilization crash occurred known as the Bronze Age collapse. And it wiped out one of the earliest global trade networks in history that included as one of its superpowers, you guessed it, Egypt. Within 100 years, an astounding number of ancient civilizations fell, taking with them a 2,100-year-old economic system. That's interesting because 2,100 years is about the time of an age.
Yeah.
At the source of this cataclysm was an eerily familiar issue: climate change. No, it wasn't greenhouse gases shifting weather patterns back in 1177 BCE, but there was a century long mega drought waging, which spiraled regions into famine. In turn, this caused mass populations to flee their homelands in the name of survival, also a present day issue and predictably a looming one for hot, dry regions. Among the afflicted ancients were the sea peoples, now believed by historians to be the Philistines. Simultaneously, refugees and raiders, they arrived at major Bronze Age ports, burning cities to the ground and wiping out most of the civilizations who traded the copper ingots and tin used to make the magical metal of bronze. At the same time, a series of earthquakes ripped through the Mediterranean zone. This storm of chaotic events decimated a number of ancient groups, including the Hittites, Minoans, and Mycenaeans, um,
Um,
whose disappearance erased the writing system, Linear B, and plunged the Greeks into a 300-year dark age of illiteracy.
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Egypt survived the Sea People's invasions as well as natural disasters. Under the rulership of Ramses III, they fended off multiple attacks and remained one of the few civilizations standing in the region. Yet, this was the beginning of the long, slow finale of the ancient realm. After Ramses III was murdered in a coup in 1155 BCE, Egypt entered an age of decline, was divided in half, and ultimately defeated by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. That was Age of Pisces happening.
Hmm.
So, what does this have to do with 2023's astrology and 2026's? In a word, Pluto. Okay, so
Yeah, we did not know what was going to happen with Pluto.
Pluto
We didn't
was
know there was going to be
actually,
AI.
yeah, Pluto was actually moving back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius. So I'll just read this last little part. This was happening in 2023, but we're still in the impact of it. Perhaps the most profound astrological event of 2023 arrives this March 23rd when the cosmic ruler of death and rebirth, Pluto, changes zodiac signs for the first time since 2008. For the coming 2 years, Pluto weaves back and forth between iron fisted, hierarchical Capricorn and innovative, community focused Aquarius, ready to shake up one system of another. Pluto made the same shift from Capricorn to Aquarius in 1162 BCE, right smack dab in the middle of Ramses the Third's reign of Egypt. So
Hmm.
Pluto stays in Aquarius for 20 years, all the way till 2044. So this was like there's this also this kind of civilization collapse and shift. Oh, yeah, here's another goosebumps inducing coincidence, perhaps one that will shine a more hopeful light. Pluto dosi-doed between Capricorn and Aquarius from 1777 to 78, right after the Declaration of Independence was signed. While Pluto was firmly housed in Aquarius in 1788, the United States Constitution was ratified and remains the world's longest surviving written government charter. So, it's like we're
Hmm.
in this major shift. Like we're still feeling this Capricorn patriarchal energy fighting against this Aquarian democratic ideal. It's just like this
We're
enlightenment.
definitely in that. I mean, one of the books that I am reading that I would recommend if you really want to geek out
Oh, yeah.
is, and I want to give a shout out to, I have a coffee shop friend, David, and he mentioned Three Eye Atlas to me right as I was going down the rabbit hole. And we trade YouTube videos sometimes. So he sent me a YouTube video of a British astrologer by the name of Pam Gregory, who is really all over the Three Eye Atlas, I learned. And so this astrologer from the UK, Pam Gregory, she has a really great YouTube channel and really talks to people who are on the cutting edge of some of these things. So she had a guest on, an author, an astrologer named Heather Ensworth, who has a new book called Astrological Ages and the Galactic Center,
Mm.
Ancient Wisdom for this Time of Transition. They were talking about Three Eye Atlas, but the book had already come out. But she's got some really interesting stuff about the ages that kind of corresponds with what you were reading from our 2023 book. And she talks about the yugas, which were about 3,000 years each. It's a 24,000 year cycle. And we're coming out of one, the Kali Yuga. Um, but in these cycles, we started, I think, with the Satya Yuga and this oneness with nature and the earth. And now we're at the bottom. And what she was talking about in this book, I got the paperback and the audio because that's what I like to do when I'm really like, I don't want to miss anything. So I'll listen and then I'll read. So there's a diagram of it, and she talks about how we think now that we're so enlightened and advanced. This is the second person I've heard talk about
Mm.
Darwin. Also, Greg Braden, who talks about this stuff too. He's a best-selling author on these kind of topics and humanities, evolution. So they were both saying that Darwin, the Darwinian kind of, an over prioritizing and overvaluing the mind and the scientific and disconnecting from the earth. This is also in the Hopi
Mm.
prophecies that we are at this crossroads now. Do we live more in tune with nature, or do we prioritize our minds and AI and technology only and then cut off our connection and think that we are the source of intelligence? while
Wow.
rejecting divine intelligence. Because if you think about it, like, there's this whole idea that humanity is at its most civilized and we're so advanced. It's like there's evidence that many civilizations that no longer exist were far more advanced. I mean, even if you look at what the Egyptians did. Um, so there's that, and you mentioned Isis. Isis and Osiris are part of Sirius, which is um the brightest star, the dog star, and it's figuring into some of the prophetic stuff too. But Sirius, the Egyptians thought of it as the spiritual sun, the second sun. It's what the Lion's Gate on 8/8
Hmm.
celebrates when it rises before the sun, and the Nile used to flood before it was dammed. But that was where we were. So all of this kind of ages and yugas and
Well, you got me reading the book too, and they're talking
yeah.
about how I think it was the Egyptians, back to the Egyptians again, believed that the sun was a binary. Our sun was a binary sun with potentially Sirius, meaning that our sun and the spiritual sun, Sirius, were kind of imagine like a figure eight, where their energy is kind of like doing this infinity symbol. And they're like, sharing, they're kind of orbiting around each other too. So,
Yeah, it's really
ooh.
interesting. I know that this rabbit hole has no bottom, but well, in the myth of Isis and Osiris, Set killed Osiris. Set was the warring sibling, and chopped up Osiris into 14 pieces, and those became the 12 constellations. But the other two are believed to be, in this book, she talks about how they could be Orion the Hunter, which is in the spring, and Ophiuchus, which is the constellation of the serpent bearer that holds the head and the tail of the dragon, which is what we put on our 2024 cover, the
That's right.
the
We did the Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
So Ophiuchus is the kind of uniter of that karmic draconian loop between the head and the tail of the dragon, the past life karma and your future dharma and possibilities. So all of these messages, that we're sounding very out in space, but hey, that's
Suddenly
owning
our
it, owning it. Yeah, I
Suddenly
think,
they're starting to feel like we got to give them some credence. And I think maybe what I
yeah.
understand at the end of Kali Yuga is we're actually moving out of that rational into the more like, who are we as spirit? And it's funny because this year we named 2026 the year of the unbridled spirit. We're talking about prophecies, but I feel like it's about to be Passover, and we talk about the Jews' exodus from Egypt when we do the Seder meal. And then, we were slaves in Egypt and there was, damage done. But it's like the whole Old Testament is like the fire, the brimstones, our stories that we hear, the Maccabees, the war, the soldiers. It's like, okay, we're not living in those times right now, but there's this like interpretation, even though with the rapture and, the evangelical Zionists who want, Israel to rise up so that Jesus returns, they believe. And then any Jew that doesn't become a Christian is going to immediately be sent to hell. So
So the
it's just like,
messianic.
I know
There's so much of that going on from every corner. And I mean, it's so interesting because there was a meteorite over there was Cleveland and Pittsburgh last week, and then just today there was
Houston, right?
one in Houston that landed, and it's like,
We just need
what
to
is
stop. I
going
know.
on?
Well,
What
it's
are
like
we at?
they're
What is
like,
going on
stop
here?
killing each other, people. Stop destroying life. Stop destroying bodies. Stop destroying the earth. Like, it's just out of fucking control. Well, this is interesting too. This week, I guess we're doing a lot of reading on this podcast because there was a lot of reading going on. We're in the reading room, but I got an email from Mind Valley, which is a group that I really love the content that they do. Vishen Lakhiani, Capricorn. I really admire a lot of the things he does. He brought like so many, his programming has brought a lot of great things to my world. But he is now going down the AI rabbit hole. And and he shared the message. I just have to read some of this because it's like, this feels Kali Yuga and what we need to turn away from. It's like a stunning prediction for the next 10 years. So he was at this, Abundance 360 Summit in LA, some $30,000 a year mastermind for CEOs and founders who want to learn about AI and technology. So apparently he sat around with Peter Diamandis, who, he's an MIT, Harvard graduated rocket scientist, kind of, fringy, definitely. But, I like a little fringe. I'm not saying that, but apparently Elon Musk was involved. So he got Peter
God.
Diamandis's, permission to share this conversation. And it sounds like it was written with a little AI too. But I have to read this. This is like, another friend of mine read this too and was like, oh, we were all pissed off and raging about it.
Oh boy.
But this is like, we need to hear this because this is what people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and these, this
It's
is what
probably
they're
the
trying
next
to
thing
do.
you're going to be like, now that like it's the next big marketing craze.
Well,
I haven't even read it, but I can already imagine
well,
like,
it's not even that. Well, it's the next like sheeple craze. So he
oh
said, these
wow.
are my connected notes from listening to Elon Musk and Peter Diamandis. This is what Vishen wrote. Peter laid out three waves of economic transformation with such mathematical certainty, such engineering clarity that I realized this isn't prediction. It's engineering that's already underway. This is what's going to happen over the next 10 years. Wave one, 2025 to 2028, automation and job displacement. Think about the Industrial Revolution, 25 years of displacement, of pain, upheaval, and social transformation before the world adapted to machines replacing physical labor. We are going to experience the equivalent of that 25-year transition in approximately 2 years. Expect major upheaval between 2027 and 2029. So they're saying AI gets cheap and ubiquitous, not in the way it feels now when you open a browser and type a question, the way electricity got ubiquitous, invisible, everywhere, assumed. That's such a chat GPT sentence
Oh
structure.
my
I'm going to,
God. It's not this, it's that.
yeah. People are losing their jobs, blah, blah, blah. So they're angry. The government does the only thing it can, print money, call it universal basic income. Peter's estimate $3,000 to $4,000 a month, maybe more. Everyone, he went on to say, will get an income check from the government of around $36,000 a year. In this first wave, the government starts
This is
printing
giving
money.
let them eat cake. I just have to drop in and
It
say.
really is. It's like, oh, wow, here you go. So they start printing money to cover the cost of this great upheaval, money to fund the unemployed, money for universal basic income, money to prevent a revolution as jobs and job losses reach unbearable heights. Don't revolt. Here's $36,000 a year. Like,
Peter Diamandis is born May 20th, making him a Taurus Gemini cusp, which also
mm,
tracks to me.
yeah, totally. Yeah, they always want to just put everything into a box there. So wave two, 2028 to 2031, this is their prediction. Robot labor and deflation. Now it gets interesting, but also significantly better. The feds will drop interest rates, hoping to spur companies to hire more humans. But why would they? Instead, they would hire AI agents and Optimus robots, cheaper and more productive. Here's the wild part. As robotics and AI proliferate, prices start dropping exponentially. The cost of transport goes down as cars are driven automatically by AI. Transport prices drop and the cost of producing goods plummets. And the best part is, we aren't going to have a Terminator type Skynet, a single AI company dominating us. Elon estimates that there are at least 5 to 10 companies right now that will be thriving during this era, competing with each
All of
other.
which he'll try to buy out as
Exactly.
they,
Five
how
to
much of
10.
Elon's ketamine did they do to come up with these ideas? I wonder,
Well,
you
it's just
know?
like I don't want I like getting in the car and driving myself. We need I like earning and working. It's just like anyways. Right now, there are already at least 10 AI companies competing for your attention. The cost of every AI service is collapsing. 10 competing AI companies will drive the price of intelligence towards zero. Deflation becomes the dominant economic force. So,
I like
you
how he writes it as though it is written, you
Oh,
know?
I know. Well, here's what it means in real terms. Peter's actual quote around that fire, they were sitting around the fire talking. A mountain of Optimus robots builds me a beautiful mansion for the cost of raw materials. It's like, okay, who's going to make all these robots,
The fact that
anyways?
you still want to be fortressed away in a mansion.
Well,
I'm doing the cynical
exactly.
side snark here. Like,
There's absolutely no
oh, build
community
me a
in this.
beautiful mansion and give me universal basic income and gate me off from the rest of the world. I just
It's
somehow I
so,
feel
yeah.
like it's probably like this is for everyone else, but we will be in the 1% that has a beautiful
Well,
mansion.
everyone gets wealth. You get enough. Here it goes. UBI income that seems modest, 3 to 4K a month, is actually more than enough because everything costs a tenth of what it did. Your money doesn't buy things, it buys choices. This brings us from universal basic income to what Elon calls universal high income. Everyone starts living richly. Dude, you could have everyone living richly right now. Why would I trust the Doge?
Yeah, high on what, you
And
know?
here's wave three, not when Saturn's in Cancer next, 2031 to 2036. Work becomes optional for the first time in human history. This is the era where, according to Peter, we escape longevity. We stop death itself. This is
Oh,
called
I saw that.
longevity escape velocity. And what it means is that human beings no longer have to die. You could practically live forever. Peter said the first group of humans who could live to 1,000, maybe alive today and could be in their 60s. So basically,
Oh God.
so this is
No thanks.
the quick year by year. 2026, a collective shift from AI as a tool to AI as the economy now, really. 2027, the line between job and calling dissolves. 2028, at least 10 major developed nations implement a universal basic income. 2029 to 30, the cost of living collapses in an AI driven sectors. AI can't do it's like, oh my God, it's you're really putting a lot into it. 2031 to 32, work becomes optional. That's 5 years from now. 2033, longevity escape velocity. Dying becomes optional. 2033, that's less than 10 years from now. Um, yeah, so they're trying
I
to
just love how it's
sell
like this is
this.
these guys, these like they, you know, they geek out on their this is like the manosphere in another form, like a bunch of guys having this intellectual circle jerk, like, and then this is gonna happen, and this. I feel like I'm like 12 years old.
Where is the heart? And like, don't try to sell me. Like, they think we're stupid. That's what I say over and over again. Like, go paint, go pot. We'll own the 10 of us have got it covered. You guys just go live in an abundance mindset. Part of what builds intelligence, part of what builds humanity is struggle. Not as much struggle as we have now, but having everything laid out for you, like how boring. Like you don't learn. You learn by getting your hands in the clay and getting messy and having to figure things out. Like definitely things
Creativity.
and things have become so insanely hard because of exactly what they're trying to sell us as this competition between 10 companies, like this domination, this one percenter, and this, it's destroyed the joy of commerce and trade and turned it into capitalism where a few
Yeah.
entities own every single part of the system, and then everyone else is like, okay, well, and it's like the kids who have, it's like, okay, I'm the rich kid on the hill with all the toys and everyone can come over and play, but I get to tell them when they get to go home. And then
Well, that's it. It's just, it feels like they're not telling you you won't have to work. What they're really telling you is you won't have to think. You won't have to use your mind. So just be a passive sheep and, I mean, take up space on the planet, but contribute nothing and live to 1,000. Like, what are we going to do living to 1,000? How's the earth going to sustain that if AI is destroying it? Like, none of this has been thought through on this, like, mushroom chocolate by the fire little bro fest that these guys had. Like, I mean, it's fun to imagine it, but it's also really, like you're filtering out key pieces of this story. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, nobody, if you're gonna take struggle away from people, great, but um
I
encourage
just,
creativity, education.
well, they're saying that they
What are you
are,
gonna
but
do
it's
with your
also,
time?
there's something about like there's also, it steals the mystery to the sense of limitlessness and possibilities because what they're talking about is there's still being a commerce structure in place, but it's controlled by 5 to 10 entities. And part of the, like, I think maybe it's my Capricorn rising, Jupiter and Capricorn talking, but I think what is exciting for people is like this feeling of like, ooh, there's no limit to,
There's no
I
the
can
unbridled spirit.
perhaps, the younger generations, Gen Alpha, won't care about getting it that way. Maybe it's just that I'm such a
No,
Gen
I mean
Xer.
today's New York Times Magazine had an article about coding after coders, the end of computer programming as we know it. Now these Silicon Valley programmers, are AI is doing a lot. The AI agents are doing a lot of what they did or
The
changing
vibe
everything,
coding.
but they don't, yeah, but they don't even mind. I mean, well, on that note, we have a special invitation put on by our awesome friend and former student and just one of the smartest people we know. We invited you last week to this too. It's a weekend summit, break the pattern with your next win events, women tech makers. It is a 3 day summit. We're going to be doing a talk, the opening talk, and it's for learning how to actually use these tools, do vibe coding, which is where you actually just talk and tell an agent what you want, among many other things. Um, but for a world that's inclusive, because
So what you're saying, it's
what's
basically the opposite
it's
of
the
your
opposite of this fight.
Diamandis,
Yeah.
like fireside chat, but like, okay, AI is here, but it doesn't have to be the destruction of society, like like the sea peoples.
Right. No, it's the idea behind it is it's here, and if you are from a marginalized community, you might be one of the most likely people to be left behind. And
Mhm.
so here's what you need to know. Since this is the reading room, I'll read the description of the event.
Mhm.
You see. I'm gonna go into the event space. Anyway, it's a free event. We're gonna put our special link down at the bottom of the show notes so that you can sign up if you want, learn more about it, see if it's for you. But if you're looking to level up your skills and learn more um, about what the future is and how you can fit into it, I mean, when technology does always disrupt life as we know it. So here's what Angelina wrote, who's organizing and hosting. Break the pattern, create what's next. Patterns shape how we work, lead, build, and belong, often without us consciously choosing them. Some once served us, others quietly limit our growth, visibility, and impact in a rapidly changing world. Break the pattern is not about disruption for its own sake. It's about awareness, agency, and intentional creation. This summit invites participants to recognize the patterns they've inherited in careers, technology, leadership, money, and self belief, and begin designing new ones aligned with who they are and where the world is headed. I think that says it really nicely. Angelina's a super Virgo,
We
so
won't be
she's
telling you that robots, I mean, hey, look, could I get a robot to clean the bathroom? And I mean, I spoke to someone who owns a robotics company, a woman who like she sees the robotics like she does it in commercial buildings and
That's
sees it as
great for
actually
cleaning.
supporting people who are cleaning buildings and whatnot. And so like, but still like this whole idea that oh, just cut me out of it. I'm just going to let the rope. I mean, like maybe that will be our future. I mean, we don't know. We've got Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, but I think Uranus and Gemini, I think people will be
It's
more
hands.
interested in like, yeah, being hands-on with our minds. Maybe we have partnership with technology. I mean, Uranus and
We already
Gemini in
do.
1781 when Uranus was discovered was it in Gemini when it was discovered, actually? I don't
I think
remember.
it was. Yeah.
Oh, it was
I'm
actually.
pretty
So
sure it
that was, and
was.
that was when that's tied to human design. Human design believes that when Uranus was discovered, which was the first of the outer planets after
1781.
Saturn, and so, yeah, that humanity got two extra chakras. So we went from a seven chakra system to a nine chakra system. And that allows us ever since to develop consciousness in a relationship. Because Saturn, and this is something like why I'm not like, there's a lot of things about Hellenistic astrology that I love and think are really cool, but I find it to be very Saturnian in that it's very rule bound and deterministic. Saturn is the last planet that Hellenistic astrologers look at, and Saturn being the planet of the material world, the patriarchy, that just doesn't vibe right with me because Uranus is the higher mind, the ajna, the third eye. Neptune is the subconscious, your dream state, and Pluto is the shadow worker, the unconscious, where we really, if we want to really like break through and take stuff into the fire. And then we have Eris too. So,
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of new and a lot of change, but Gemini
mhm.
rules communication, talking, partnerships, coexistence. It rules the hands. So, you know, maybe people will return more to making things with their hands. But look, the last time Uranus was in Gemini, we had the wartime economy. There was a boom in factory production. And you see, they're trying to get people back into doing physical manual labor and, you know, even the draft. So we don't want to repeat that history. But what I'm excited about with the Breaking the Pattern conference, my geeky side is really curious because I don't want to see people left behind who uh or stuck in the impact, even if you don't ever want to like have a job doing AI if you don't have to. That's not what this is about only. But you'll understand what the world is actually heading toward, because this is not a I feel like there's so many um, summits and conferences that talk about AI, and they use this whole fear mongering, great
Well, yeah.
replacement theory, like, just stimulate this. You don't have to do that to get people to show up.
Well,
Like,
by the
this
way,
is,
Mind Valley had a 3-day AI summit, and that
well,
was
of course they
which I
did.
which I did. I did buy the VIP. It was only $49. I want to watch it and see what they're saying because I want to know
Yeah, there might be some good stuff in there.
what's being said and shared and what that outlook is. So I'll be sure to, share my findings as well. When is Angelina's summit?
So, Break the Pattern is April 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Mhm.
That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the Aries new moon, and it's the day that 7 planets are in Aries, if you include Chiron and the moon as planets. And so that is all about self-empowerment, new novelty, fresh starts. She's actually going to live demonstrate vibe coding an app on Saturday.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, there's a theme for each day. You can also, if you can attend live or you don't want to do the whole thing, you there'll be replays. It's $10 for a replay pass, which is incredibly generous. I mean, this is like thousands of dollars of education, but she wanted to, really just make it available. There's speakers from, I think, 6 or 7 different countries already. They're all women, and all the continents. And it's just South America, Africa. So it's very international, much like our events too. So definitely check it out. And
Well,
come
yeah.
join our international crew, hopefully Monday night, this Monday, March 23rd, for our monthly manifestation meetup, our very first one,
I
entering
wanted to, yeah.
Aries/Mars season. Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of Mars and that kind of warrior energy, I did want to talk about Eris for a minute because
Oh,
Eris
yeah.
is a dwarf planet that was, beyond Pluto. And Eris actually represents the feminine warrior archetype. So there's a lot of talk right now about the matriarchy. I think Jupiter in Cancer, which it has been since June 9th, 2025, and is there until June 30th of this year, has been really a tough time for women in a lot of ways. Like,
Yeah.
really been like Project 2025 has been like, I mean, now the Save America Act, which is like really, God, if that passes, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to, I'm glad I never changed my last name because,
Mm.
now it's meant to make it harder for women to vote. So Eris is actually in Aries, and it's very slow moving through Aries. But Saturn and Neptune have entered the chat with Aries. Eris is at 24, 25 degrees Aries. Saturn will get there in 2027. So I'm like, will the matriarchy be born in 2027, which is also a huge year in human design astrology when we move to this new incarnation cross and end 412 years. We'll talk about that on another
Yeah, we
podcast.
we mention that
But
every now and then, but it does seem to all be lining up with,
a lot of the
human
prophecies,
design, Hopi,
it's like
Edgar Cayce,
2026 is this
Nostradamus.
year of insanity, even with that three-eye atlas. But 2027 is when we start to maybe see things. This one year is just crazy. This unbridled spirit. Set your spirit free. It's the only way to be. I mean,
Mhm.
we really have to unplug from things that are pulling us in the wrong direction. So come manifest with Mars Monday night, Monday, March 23rd. So you might be tonight if you're listening on your Monday morning drive, or tomorrow night if you're listening on Sunday. And it's totally free. So,
Come
we'll
feel
just be on a
supported too. There's always a lot of really great positive oxytocin in the
Mhm.
in the air. So
I
come
know
get
we
a
love
get
our
a boost.
community. All right. right. Wishing you a good one. Till the next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to AstroTwins Radio. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, we'd be over the moon if you left us a 5-star review. It helps fellow astrology lovers find us. And make sure to hit subscribe and follow us on iTunes and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Want the full visual experience? You can also watch the video version on our YouTube at AstroTwins-TV. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins and head over to astrostyle.com to read your free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope that we write for you with love. Until next time, move with intention and let the universe meet you there.